Welcome aboard for another flight. I appreciate the folks that have been watching these videos. I enjoy flying and talking about it and trying to improve the videos as we go. Hopefully this one will be a good one today. Today's plan is I'm going to try for the most realistic flight that I can do within the assumptions of FAR Part 108 approval and a virtual conversion like the reliable robotics Cessna 172 and Cessna 208 that I've talked about before. uh, Converting general aviation planes into drone. So listen, get this now. This is a simulated flight of a real world conversion of a 172 into an uncrewed aircraft. So what could possibly go wrong? So I've been scouting locations and routes where I can fly these BVLOS, beyond visual line of sight flights, without encroaching on any controlled airspace or interfering with crewed airplanes. Uh, Today's flight's going to be the first trying to implement those routes. We're going to be flying today from the newly designated Viking DronePort in Jasper, Alabama. That's that DronePort word. It's starting to catch on in Europe a little bit. Hopefully, it will over here one of these days after 108's approved and we start some pretty busy drone operations. But Viking DronePort is really just the old Jasper Airport. And I think it's perfectly reasonable that it could be a drone port one of these days. I have flown real drones there a lot. It's a great training area. You've got 37, you're looking at it on the screen right now. It's a great training area, 3,700-foot old runway. I'm going to show you some more pictures of the place before we take off here in a minute. It's runway 1129. It could support this size, certainly fixed wing drones with very little work to the runway. You'd have to take some fencing down and things like that. But let me show you some pictures of the place just because I think it's a fun place to operate out of. This is the new Viking DronePort. Um, just going to go through and tell you a little bit about it. This is an overhead view that I got straight from Google Maps or somewhere like that. That's what the place looks like these days. Down at the bottom left, you see the farmers market that I'll refer to from time to time. And there's some other local training going on this end, on the other end of the runway, that if we were to get some fictional drone port approval, we'd have to get those things moved. But right here is the old hangar that I'll be referring to. And this is the old T hangar that we'll also look at some close-up pictures of. This next picture is a picture that I took with the drone myself from straight over that farmer's market area, obviously in a greener season. And there's the hangar down there at the side. It's owned by the city or the county, and they keep some maintenance equipment in there right now, but it'd be nice to have it for drone ops. That's a close up or a closer view of the hangar. Still in pretty decent shape. It was built. Everybody calls it the WPA hangar. It was actually built back during the pre-World War II WPA days, so it's been around a while. Aerial view of the hangar, and this is the T hangar that was built not too many years before the airport shut down, but it could obviously use some TLC. I have in my imagination this being my office here in FSE or in FS, you could convert it to maybe something like that, and there's where my planes live these days. Looking down the runway, real world, the runway's not in that bad a shape. I can see ultralights flying out of there. It can't happen right now because there's fencing that gets in the way and there's big X's on the runway, so you just can't fly there. But it could happen. That's me standing on the runway, and that's what it looks like out the front of my Caravan, the Freebird, uh, about to take off on that same runway. Here's the farmers market that I was talking about. That's my car and me flying the drone that took this picture. And then in the virtual world, instead of the farmer's market open, it's got an actual enclosed building built right there. So we have to tend to that, but it's not a problem landing because those trees are high enough that you don't, this could just as well be a fence at the end of the runway. Your touchdown zone is way off out there anyway, so the building's not really a problem for landings. There's my real world drone fleet that has flown at Viking Field several times. Here it is, matter of fact, sitting on the ground at Viking Field. The very first time I flew that drone was over the runway there. There's a diagram of what it looked like in the days when it was an active runway or an active airport. There's the big hangar and the T hangar and runway 1129. Let's see, so that's enough about that. We're just about ready to, well, let's go on and tell you a little bit more about the flight. It's in the Kilo Juliet Foxtrot X-ray KJFX zone in FSE, but it does not interfere with the traffic pattern. I'm talking about this Viking Field. And I've plugged in a flight plan, and I will show you that. Ooh, don't do that. There we go. Plugged in a flight plan that I'll tell you a little bit more about to keep us clear of any reason to talk on the radio. We'll be monitoring real world traffic on TCAS. It's active on the maps, but not likely to encounter anybody at 1500 MSL or less, and we won't go any higher than that. The destination for this flight is another new drone port. It is not an old airport though. It's an east-west field that I've okayed with the simulated virtual owner to use as the new Tuscaloosa DronePort. What makes it nice is that it's inside the Tango Charlie Lima Tuscaloosa zone, or KTCL for FSE purposes, but it's just outside the real world Delta airspace. So it would be a great drone port. It's a good 3,500 feet of wide open flat space. It's probably would be runway 927, maybe 826. I'm not certain exactly what the exact lineup of the runway is, but the route will be along those GPS waypoints that you can see plugged into the autopilot there. We'll be going to first destination will be Dora, Delta Oscar Romeo Alpha. That's just to the east, right off the departure end of runway 11 at Viking Field. So that's really like the home location. You can see where on the map that I have there, we're very close to that Dora intersection. I'm using KJFX as a start point just to make the autopilot happy, the FMS. So, but then we'll go to Creel, Charlie Romeo Echo Alpha Lima. It's a few more miles to the east, and that'll give us a good separation from the city of Jasper, as well as the KJFX traffic. Keeps us from over any built up crowded spaces. And then we'll turn southwest for about 54 miles to Rowell, ROWLL, Romeo Oscar Whiskey Lima Lima, which is about 8 miles west of our destination. And that Creel Rowell route will take us just outside the Meridian 1 East MOA. So it keeps us outside that. We don't have to worry about them. And then from Rowell, we'll turn inbound on Tusky, which is right across the river, Tango Uniform Sierra Kilo Echo on that one. You can see those on the screen though. So, but that's right across the river from this new DronePort landing zone. And that route from Rowell to Tusky, that puts us almost exactly on the perfect heading for a glide path for landing. So this ought to be an easy flight. We'll land in that field. There's some buildings at the far end where I'm setting up a virtual drone depot. And we'll offload and reload our FSE cargo, reverse the flight plan, and keep flying. I'll shut down the video there, and I don't know if I'll video the flight back or not, but we'll just see how it goes. It is an FSE revenue flight. We're going to be cruising at about 1,500 feet MSL, but we'll have to, when we see Lake Tuscaloosa, we'll have to come down to 500 AGL, just to be below 700, to stay below the Echo airspace blob that's about 10 miles. It's an oddly shaped thing because of the runways, but it's about 10 miles in that area from Tuscaloosa Airport, and we want to stay below that. It begins at 700 feet AGL, so we want to stay below that. Or we could call the tower on 126.3 and ask them for transit, but I don't want to be the first drone to call Tuscaloosa Airport, so we'll stay below that. So I've gotten everything pre-flighted pretty much. Let's go ahead and see about getting this thing started. Put us back into my normal happy place for flying. Turn me some lights on. That lets the people, if there were any people on the ground, know the engines are about to start, because I'm not going to yell clear, because nobody in my den would care if I yelled clear. So let's get the engine started. Flaps are at takeoff position. Trim, about 15% on the trim. You can see that there. That usually works pretty good for this Cessna in this configuration. Brakes off. And make sure the client is started. Yes, it is. We have cargo. The red light means we are recording, so I'm happy with that. And let's see if we can get this thing moving. You can use the tail top camera. Since it's a drone, I can access that anytime, but it's really awkward to fly it from there, but it's good for taxiing around. Don't want to bump into any buildings or anything. Okay. Go ahead and reset this view to right here, so it doesn't keep throwing us into that totally non-realistic view from the outside of the plane. This one is actually possible right here. So is this one. So I can use that camera anytime I want to. And of course we have the interior cameras that we can see. I think we're good to go now. Uncontrolled field, there's nobody else here. So we'll go ahead and get this thing moving. $40 knots, 50 knots, 60. Now we are flying. After takeoff gear, we'll just leave those alone. Flaps up. Little throttle back. Turn it over to the GPS, because officially, according to what I can hear from Vivelos 108, you're not supposed to fly a plane by remote control. You have to do it. It has to be autonomous, pre-programmed. So we're inbound to Dora now for a few seconds, climbing to 1,500 feet. As soon as we get in a cruise configuration, I'll do do an exterior view, and so we can see the countryside and maybe time lapse a little bit or just edit out some dead time. Every time anything important happens, I'll slow back down and let you know. And we're past Dora. We're en route to Creel now. 5 miles out from that. This going all the way out to Creel also gets this end of the flight offset a little bit to help us stay out of that Meridian 1 East MOA, because a straight shot from Viking Field to this new DronePort would take us through the edge of it. I think that's kind of part of the fun of these simulated drone ops. It is helping me for some stuff, because one day the company that I work for is hoping to actually do some BVLOS drone operations, and I know this is not realistic because I'm flying by the controls, but some of the routing considerations might be very realistic, because you have to stay outside controlled airspace and such things. And the drone itself would be maintaining 400 AGL or less unless we can get a waiver. So, but I'm at 1,500 feet, but I am going to go down to 500 feet above the ground over the lake, because I am trying to simulate staying out of Tuscaloosa's airspace, and the echo airspace around Tuscaloosa's, well, I said that before, it starts at 700 feet above the ground and up. Okay, we are back in cruise configuration, 7 gallons per hour, give or take a little bit. Amps are charging. Everything's in the green. RPM's about 2,000. Yep. I think we're happy enough to go to the exterior view. I'll stay in here for a minute. I'm trying to develop a system so when I go to that rudder top view, that I keep my mouth shut, and we can do time lapses that way. It's easier to see when I'm editing. We're on GPS control. The FMS is doing this turn. I am not. And there is another airplane on TCAS, 3,600 feet above us. Probably on approach to Jasper. Well, he's climbing. Yeah, he's definitely climbing. Maybe he came off from Jasper, but he's no factor to us. We got nothing to worry about with him. And here we are on our steady course toward Rowell. 52 miles to go. I won't make you sit through all of that. We'll go to the rudder top and speed up time a little bit. All right, we're back down to normal speed for a couple of things. I did have an aircraft on TCAS, but he has cleared the area. But we do need to go down to, and I was thinking that, I'll show you this on the actual screen. I was thinking that we would not be able to see the echo airspace on the GPS map. I was looking at it on a sectional, but we can actually see it. So I need to get down fairly quickly to about 700 MSL, and that should get us throttle back a little bit. That should get us under the echo airspace, and everybody will still be happy. As soon as we get down to 500 feet, or to 700 MSL. I know there's some hills out on that end of town, but I think we'll be well clear of them at 700 feet. Drone consideration, you'd never fly a regular plane that low out across there. There's another plane on TCAS. He is descending right in front of us. It's 1,400 feet higher than us, so it shouldn't be a problem.
500.
Now he's climbing. That was odd. Wonder if that was a data glitch or what. That connection is real world. TCAS signals through MSFS. There it is. Climbing away. I guess we're no factor, so we'll go ahead and expedite ourselves on across. Okay, we're back 1.5 miles from Rowell, about to make a pretty steep left turn. I think I might have been saying it while we were in the time lapse, so I'll just briefly go over the TCAS indication that I had was a Freightrunner's airplane. I looked that up while we were there. He seemed to descend, then ascend, then climb again, and then did eventually land at Tuscaloosa at the main airport. All the time while we were zipping along at 500 feet above the ground, so we were never a factor to any of it. We did see and avoid the air traffic, so that's drone procedure. And this should bring us out on a eastbound heading. If I can just remember what the strip looks like from the air. You can see it from Tusky. I've seen it before. The only issue there's that Freightrunner's 9532 again. I thought he landed. Oh well, he's doing his own business anyway. I think I was just saying, my only concern with using Tusky as really the home base reference point, because it's the closest GPS checkpoint to this strip that I'm using. Tusky is also, on the ILS 4 approach to Tuscaloosa. It is right there. You should be. Let's see, what is it? I've got the paper chart for the ILS there. I think at Tusky, at least on the RNAV, you cross Tusky. There it is. Yeah, on the RNAV, you cross Tusky at 2,000 feet, not below. So, I shouldn't ever be a factor. I'm crossing the glide slope not at 90 degrees, but at like a 45-degree angle at 500 feet above the ground, I wouldn't see that as a problem. But in getting a drone route approved, I could see that as a problem. Freight Runners is just doing pattern work, I believe, doing some training. Saab 2000. All right, let's slow this down. We are just about 2 miles from Tusky. And I think that's our field right in front of us. Get some flaps out. Yep, there it is. This is the field that I was talking about. 4 flaps. That Saab is turning inbound to the runway 4. We're good on our speeds for full flaps. Go ahead and kill the autopilot. Try to land this thing. Wish I had straighter lines on this runway, but I'm going to start calling it 927. I think it's pretty close to due east-west. And that Rowell-Tusky route brought us perfectly within sight. If you can't see that runway from Tusky, then you need to go somewhere else anyway. .65 knots, 500 feet per minute. That's my goal anyway. At full flaps. Can VREF as low as 60, but a 65 makes me feel safer. And we got 3,000 feet of dirt here, so we're good. Right over that house. See if we can do a decent landing for a change. Pretty smooth for a dirt field. A lot of times in FSE and MSFS, if you land in the dirt, you're asking for problems. But this is a cultivated cornfield. In the real world, sometimes they cut it off like this, leave it over. Not cornfield, cotton field. And there's our simulated bases. That's Black Warrior River Road that runs right there. I believe that's just a driveway. Black Warrior River Road's on the south, on the left, to the left over here. But all right, I think we made it. I'm pretty sure we're within the FSE KTCL zone based on flyover information, but we will know for sure in just a second when I go down into the cockpit and do this. And I go kill the engine. And FSE pops up with logging flight. And then I'll have to go see if I'm really at KTCL. Let's go ahead and shut things down here. Flaps. Should have pulled the flaps up before I shut the engine off. Lights off. Mixture's already back. No RPMs to deal with. FSE is closed. Brakes. And power. One more time. Thanks for flying with me.